Today we're headed to one of the most appropriately named and newest national parks. The views here are unlike any other, especially at sunset. So let's head to New Mexico and dive right into White Sands National Park. White Sands is one of two national parks in the state of New Mexico, the other being Carlsbad Caverns, and we were visiting both of them on this trip. We landed in Albuquerque, grabbed our rental car, and headed straight for White Sands, about a 3.5-hour drive. If you want to cut that time down though, the city of El Paso, Texas and its airport are only about an hour and a half away from the park. And White Sands isn't exactly remote, with the city of Alamogordo, New Mexico right next to it. There's plenty of hotels or Airbnbs to choose from here. But if you're more interested in camping, well, it's a little different here. But we'll get to that in a bit, I promise. From Alamogordo, it's about a 20-minute drive to the park's entrance, where the visitor center greets you immediately. First things first, White Sands is located next to an active missile range. Fun, I know, right? From time to time, the park can close for up to 2 hours while missile testing is in progress. It's generally announced about 2 weeks ahead of time when there's going to be a missile test, and you can also check ahead at a link I've provided in the description below. When out hiking in White Sands, it's unlikely, but not exactly impossible, that you could come across some unexploded ordnance in the Dune field. You'll see plenty of warning signs about this, but if you do happen to find an unexploded missile, don't touch it or take it home as a souvenir, and definitely let a park ranger know. Oh, and don't take any of the sand either, that's also pretty frowned upon. Head through the entrance gate just past the visitor center to pay the fee of $25, or present your annual pass. If you're visiting a lot of parks, do yourself a favor and get one of these. They pay for themselves after about 3 park visits. White Sands is a pretty small national park, with only about 4 established trails that really don't take too long to hike. And the first that you'll come across while driving is the Playa Trail. Don't expect a ton of white sand here. This half-mile long trail takes you to a view of a dry lake bed. Dry, that is, unless a summer monsoon storm has rolled through. Then this normally arid setting becomes abundant with life. Clearly, it wasn't like that when I was visiting. So it was time to move on and actually check out what this park is named after. A few things worth knowing for visiting White Sands. 1, it gets pretty hot here in the summer, and there's absolutely no shade. So sunscreen and plenty of water are an absolute must. 2, a pair of good sunglasses with polarized lenses in them. The bright sunlight bouncing off the white sand can make things pretty tough to see otherwise. 3. While there's some marked trails, winds, and it is frequently windy here, change dune shapes and sizes literally every day. So be careful not to lose your sense of direction or surroundings. It all kind of starts to look the same, and it can be easy to get lost. And 4. The park is not open 24/7. Generally, it opens around sunrise and closes just after sunset. Don't be late exiting. The rangers will be more than happy to fine you if they have to open the gate back up to let you out. I've provided another link in the description below with the park's operating hours. They do change based on the season. So there's your basics. Continue the park road and the white sand dunes should start appearing on either side of you. Follow the signs for the Dune Life Nature Trail and pull off for your first proper White Sands experience. This trail is a mile long and takes you straight up into the dunes themselves. Once you reach the top of the dunes, you get your first sense for how massive this area actually is. Follow the markers to complete this loop trail, and be sure to take in the views along the way. There's a decent mix of plant life and gypsum dunes here, so if you're looking for white sands and nothing else, wrap this one up and continue on a little deeper into the park. Gypsum sand dunes, like the ones found here in White Sands, are extremely unique. Gypsum sand is generally blown away and dispersed pretty quickly. And while it does shift here, the secret to these dunes staying mostly in place lies beneath the surface. And that secret is water. Water underneath the dunes keeps them from completely blowing away, and also keeps the sand relatively cool, no matter what the temperature out. So you don't have to worry about burning your feet if you happen to be visiting on a hotter day of the year. If getting white sand in your shoes, and, well, pretty much everywhere, isn't really your thing, then why did you come to this park? It's literally what it's named after and its main feature. Anyways, I guess this next trail could be for you. The Interdune Boardwalk. Just under a half-mile round trip, this raised boardwalk trail takes visitors out into the dunes themselves, and more importantly, is also wheelchair accessible. Enjoy some amazing views, but without the need to actually hike up some of these white sand hills. But it's time now to check out one of the best trails in the entire park. Hop back on the main road and head towards the very back of the park. There's only one road here, by the way, so you really can't get lost. Keep an eye out for the parking lot for the sunset stroll. I mentioned earlier that sunsets here are amazing, and this is a great spot to catch one. We'll come back though. Now it's time to head to the longest hike in the entire park. If you came to White Sands for endless, pristine gypsum dunes and not much else, the Alkali Flats Trail is the one for you. The vegetation that dots other parts of the dunes is sparse, if existent at all out here, and you're simply left with rolling white dunes and a spectacular mountain range as a backdrop. Park your car and begin this 5-mile-long trail into the heart of White Sands itself, following the markers along the way. You'll definitely want to be extra careful on this one to make sure you're heading in the right direction. Sunset can be amazing from here. The only problem is you probably won't have enough time to catch it and to make it out of the park before closing. Alkali Flats is at the very back of White Sands. But there's that sunset stroll spot I mentioned that's a little closer to the entrance. And we'll get there, I promise. There's just one more thing worth doing first. And that is sledding, of course. The dunes here can be pretty tall, and it kind of looks like snow, right? So head to the store in the visitor center to purchase your very own saucer sled, and a cube of wax to apply to the bottom. New sleds cost around $25, and used sleds cost around $16. Used, you might ask? Yes, because of course, you can sell your sled back to the store for half of what you paid, which they in turn resell as used. That or bring your own, I guess. You'll definitely want to splurge for the wax too. Dune sledding is a little bit tougher than a snow hill, and it'll help your sled move faster. It's also worth noting, for this park at least, while there's established trails, you don't actually have to stick to them. As long as you're parked in a lot or proper pull-off, you can literally just take off into the dunes. Climb to the top of a sand dune, wax your sled up, and prepare for the ride of your life. Alright, well, maybe this wasn't quite as much fun by myself in my early 30s, or maybe I'm just a bit of a pessimist. I guess it was still worth it though. It's part of the proper White Sands experience. So I mentioned camping earlier, and it's a little bit different here at White Sands. While there's no proper campground, there are 10 backcountry camping sites that are first come, first served. If you want to snag one, it's best to be at the entrance gate, right when the park opens to try and get a permit. It's $3 per person, so you're really not breaking the bank with this one. The Backcountry Camping Trail is 2 miles long and located just before the Alkali Flats Trail. These are primitive sites, so be prepared to haul all your gear in over the dunes. Now for the bad news. As of April 2023, backcountry camping is closed while they rehabilitate the sites, and no reopening date has been announced. Check yet another link in the description below for updates. Hopefully they reopen soon. So at this point, you've done pretty much everything there is to do in White Sands, and if you started early enough, you might have a good chunk of time to kill before sunset. So now what? You could take a break at the park's cool picnic site. But after that, you've got some options, and they're not that far away. First up is the place you're likely staying in, Alamogordo. There are some cool things to check out in this desert town, including the Museum of Space History, full of artifacts and mementos related to spaceflight. This area of New Mexico actually has a lot of space-age history, including the time that the Space Shuttle Columbia landed at the White Sands Space Harbor in 1982. Fun fact, right? Or maybe not. Another place worth checking out is the Alameda Park Zoo, a smaller but definitely worth visiting zoo in the middle of the city. Plus, it only costs $4 to visit, so why not? But the most famous attraction in Alamogordo has to be McGinn's Pistachio Tree Ranch, home to the largest pistachio in the entire world, right in the parking lot. I can't imagine the competition was too high for this world record, but McGinn's is definitely worth a visit. The pistachios are delicious, especially the red and green chili ones. It's a New Mexico thing. They've got a great gift shop too, full of all manner of things worth spending your money on. There's a chance you might still have some time to kill, and if you do, I recommend making the 30-minute drive up into the Sacramento Mountains and Lincoln National Forest, where you'll find the little mountain town of Cloudcroft, New Mexico. Make sure you stop at the pull-off just before town for the Mexican Canyon Trestle, an 1800s Wild West era train bridge. The 2-mile trail down to it starts just up the road, and you can even see into White Sands while hiking it. There's tons of other trails in this national forest, but I'll have to save those for another video. For now, we're heading into Cloudcroft. Nestled high up in the mountains, you'll find skiing in the winter, lots of cool shops, an amazing barbecue restaurant, and of course, one of my personal favorites, Cloudcroft Brewing Company. Featuring great beer and pizza, it's a must visit while in town, if you're into that kind of thing. Hopefully by now, enough time has passed that you're close to sunset. I recommend being to your spot of choice in the park about an hour before the sun actually sets. This is when the lighting gets extra dramatic. Because the park generally closes right after sunset, you don't want to stray too far from the entrance. So a great spot to catch it is the Sunset Stroll parking area, about halfway down the main road. Pretty much every day, there's a ranger-led hike into the dunes to catch the sunset. But of course, you're free to go off on your own, pick a dune that works best for you, sit back, and enjoy the show. Sun's last light creates a fiery sky and amazing shadows across the White Sands. It's like something from a completely different planet, and well worth the wait. Be sure to check out my guide to New Mexico's other amazing national park, Carlsbad Caverns. Once I finish it, that is. And when that time comes, it'll be linked right here. Until the next time.